Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for July 26th. July 26th is the 207th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 208th in leap years, with 158 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria is a noun that means a constantly shifting, complex succession of things seen or imagined, a scene that constantly changes, a bizarre or fantastic combination, collection, or assemblage. An example sentence might be, he saw a phantasmagoria of shadowy creatures through the fog. When I think of this word, I think of some of the moving psychedelic images from the 1960s and 70s, or some stream of consciousness drawings and paintings reminiscent of that time. The word phantasmagoria seems to have evolved from a Greek word that meant to present to the mind, and the current concept has more to do with the way things seem or appear rather than the way they really are. First known use of the word phantasmagoria is in about 1802. Phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria was suggested by one of my viewers, and if you have a word you'd like us to explore in the Word of the Day section, pop it in the comments. And with that, the precursor to the United States Post Office Department was established by the Second Continental Congress on July 26, 1775, with Benjamin Franklin as Postmaster General. On July 26, 1788, New York ratified the United States Constitution and became the 11th state of the United States. This is the birthday of a man named George Catlin, born July 26, 1796. He was an American adventurer, lawyer, artist, author, and traveler. And as an artist, he specialized in portraits of Native Americans in the Old West, from along the Erie Canal out to the West Coast and back, up and down the Mississippi River and down into Florida. He produced hundreds of paintings, gathered quite a collection of artifacts, and carried them to Europe in a traveling exhibit. In 1862, when he will have been about 66 years old, he sold his entire collection up to that time, which included 607 paintings, in order to pay some debt. After this, he spent the next 20 years of his life trying to recreate those paintings based on his original drawings, and was able to complete more than 400 paintings in this time. He wrote several books as well. Now, the man who'd bought Catlin's paintings in 1862 was an industrialist named Joseph Harrison. When Mr. Harrison passed away in 1879, his widow, Mrs. Harrison, donated the entire original collection of paintings and artifacts to the Smithsonian Museum. George Catlin's work and other artifacts that he collected are also in the collections of several other museums as well. George Catlin lived to the age of 76. This is the birthday of George Bernard Shaw, born July 26, 1856. He was an Irish playwright and critic and all-round interesting character. He preferred to go by Bernard Shaw, leaving off the George, thank you very much, and claimed to be an atheist, but later on he allowed that his religious convictions and scientific views might be more accurately described as those of a believer in creative evolution. Throughout his life, he refused to follow normal English forms of spelling and punctuation. Many of his plays, and there are many of them, many of his plays have been adapted to movies. Pygmalion, for example, the mythological character who created a woman and then fell in love with her. Pygmalion was made into a movie in 1938 and also in 1964 as My Fair Lady. George Bernard Shaw lived to the age of 94. This is the birthday of Swiss psychiatrist and psychotherapist Carl Jung, born July 26, 1875. Where Sigmund Freud was the founder of psychoanalysis, Carl Jung founded analytical psychology, which is known as Jungian analysis. Concepts from Jungian analysis include archetypes, the collective unconscious, complexes, extroversion and introversion, individuation, synchronicity, and a few more things. Sounds like some pretty complex stuff, but I think his work has helped a lot of people. Carl Jung lived to the age of 85. President Harry Truman signed Executive Order 9981 on July 26, 1948, desegregating the military of the United States. Eva Perón, nicknamed Evita, was the First Lady of Argentina back in the 1940s and 50s. Much loved by the people of her country for what she was able to achieve for them and her own political star on the rise, she developed cancer. She had surgery, but the cancer returned with a vengeance, as it sometimes will do. In 1952, she was the first Argentine to undergo chemotherapy. Sadly, on July 26, 1952, Eva Perón passed away at the tender age of 33. On July 26, 1963, a satellite called SYNCOM-2 was launched from Cape Canaveral. This was the world's first geosynchronous satellite, which, as I understand it, basically means that the satellite moves with the rotation of the Earth so that the satellite is over the same place on Earth all the time. As I understand it, a similar but slightly different term is geostationary, and with geostationary, satellites are fixed in one place over the equator. SYNCOM-2 was geosynchronous. It was used for telephone transmissions and phone calls, and I was unable to learn if it's still in use, but I think not, because the transmissions were relatively simple and actually primitive according to our current standards. But it was a first. We've got to start somewhere. Today's song is I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy and Faith Evans featuring 112. Number 1 on July 26, 1997. I'll Be Missing You is a rearrangement of Every Step You Take with a little bit of the hymn One Glad Morning sprinkled in as a beautiful eulogy for someone who's gone on. Indeed, it was in memory of Christopher the Notorious B.I.G. Wallace, who had been murdered on March 9th of 1997. I'll Be Missing You actually hit the number 1 spot in June of 1997 and held that position for 11 weeks, way into August, covering the time we find it on July 26, 1997. This is a beautiful tribute to someone who has gone on. I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy and Faith Evans featuring 112, number 1, July 26, 1997. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that is called No Really. And you can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Microphone over there. Hello! Okay. With 202 days remaining to the end of the world. End of the year. Please, not the end of the world. 202 days remaining to the end of the year. Let's read that one again. Yep, it is. That's what it's called. All right. Third time better be a charm. There's no "the" there. Start over. Attracting. Just read the whole thing over. I don't ad-lib very well. You know what? Maybe we can leave that one off. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty. Back to work. I think we got it this time.